at least prediction in Himachal is that it rains day after. So, we are crazy people in Himachal. It goes to 27 degrees and we start saying it's very warm. So I met my mother yesterday. She said, "Kitni garmi ho gayi?" It was 26 degrees.
Yeah. I was at Solan for SILB, SILB in January, and it was about 7 degrees.
Right.
In the daytime, 7 or 8 degrees.
So we have to suffer some cold to get away from the heat. So teachers, good afternoon. We have another 1 minute to go before we go live. Please bear with us and welcome Deepak sir. So 1 minute, I'll take some permission from you and then we'll start.
Absolutely, sir.
It was amazing till a week back, Vivek, talking about the weather. It was so pleasant and it suddenly got very, very warm. I guess this is the way it was in good old days, when the loo used to come in and the mangoes would ripe and it used to get very warm and the temperatures were extreme then. Probably that's what's happening now.
Yeah, and people didn't have any ACs or didn't have any coolers also, and they were okay. They were doing fine.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock, and Vivek, if you allow me, Deepak sir, if you allow me, can we start?
Sure.
Yes, sir. I think we should start. Yeah.
So good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, teachers. Good afternoon, Vivek. Good afternoon, Deepak. It's my pleasure to invite you to Ideas at Work, series of webinars by Shulini University, Kasauli Hills, Himachal Pradesh. The idea behind these webinars, the idea behind Ideas at Work, is to inspire all of us, because inspiration is what creates inspiration to the students. So we created this seminar to engage with each other, exchange ideas, and in the process, hopefully inspire our students. Vivek and I have now covered around 35 different schools across the country, 35 top schools of the country, and covered around 20,000 teachers so far. The topic for today is going to be effective online learning. It's a topic that I think we all are amateurs of. Some of us are ahead of it. At Shulini, we started the journey of online around 4 to 5 years ago, but we're all learning the toolkit and we're all getting better and better every day. So the objective for us would be share our learnings at Shulini. Vivek is a regular talk. He speaks very, very regularly through webinars pretty much every day, 4 to 5 a day. So we'd love to hear Vivek's learnings of how to become a great online teacher. And we'll also love to answer any questions that you have. As a quick introduction, my name is Atul Khosla. I'm the founder and pro-vice chancellor at Shulini University, Solan. I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur, an MBA from Janarlal Bajaj, Bombay, and then 20 years in the industry. 7 different countries, 35 different cities, and working with multinationals like McKinsey and Company. My last job was the CEO of a very large consulting firm, Oliver Wyman, which I headed before the teaching bug hit me. And I decided to become a full-time teacher, and I'm very, very proud about it. So I won't take more time, but I'll quickly introduce our host of the day, Vivek Atray. Vivek is an ex-IAS officer, a TEDx speaker, a motivational speaker, but more importantly for me, a very dear friend and a visiting professor at Shulini University, and that's how we meet pretty much every day today and nowadays. Vivek is also an author of 3 different books, and he would definitely love to answer all the different questions you have on this topic or otherwise. Before I request Vivek to speak, I'm going to request Deepak sir to please address you for a minute, and then we'll get into Vivek. I also have a small presentation for all of you from our experiences at Shulini, and we'll love to take you through that. But before Vivek, Deepak sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Atul, for giving us this opportunity to hear out you people, because I have been following Shulini very closely, and I was extremely impressed with the kind of online programs you people are doing, and you're doing it on a very consistent basis. And also I felt that you are able to kind of mobilize a lot of good people. So that's not an easy task. And I just wanted to congratulate you on this maneuver. And of course, Vivek ji is a household name. I think we were always looking forward to have Vivek ji sometimes with us. So see, this is the opportunity that has come by. of course, there is always a silver lining in the black clouds, although the times are tough. But see, another avenues of opportunities have come up, especially online teaching. And let me just put the things in context in as far as our school is concerned, and vis-a-vis the effect online teaching. The teachers quickly took up online teaching because we didn't have much time. It just happened all of a sudden. So, one day YouTube training how to download the videos, upload the videos on YouTube, and, the things got going. And then when started, they also upgraded themselves on Microsoft Teams, Zoom, WebEx we tried. We are now trying Microsoft Storyboard and many more. So, it's all happening around, and today's focus would be to listen to your experience, and of course Vivekji's, and let us try to learn from our experiences how to deliver the best goods to kids and to benefit ourselves. I think largely we are looking forward to that. Does it make any sense, sir?
Absolutely, Deepak. I think couldn't have summarized it better. So thank you very much. We'll now request Vivek to take us through the journey. Vivek, over to you. And I think once you've done your overview, I'd love to come in with my presentation. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you very much, Atul. Thank you for the introduction and welcome. As always, a pleasure to be on Shulini's series of webinars. Deepakji, thank you for the warm welcome. It's very nice to be speaking to Aisha School colleagues, teachers. I don't know whether you know, but I used to be SDM Kalka in the 90s. And you were obviously not here at that time, all of you. Some of you may have been, I don't know, senior teachers. In the 90s, when I was SDM Kalka, then I visited your school a couple of times, perhaps. And
oh, wonderful. Wonderful.
Latha ma'am was the principal, Mrs. Latha.
Oh, yeah, very good. I now recollect that. Yes, you were the SDM Kalka, and many of us teachers actually know you. Yeah. Okay. It's nice to have you here, sir.
Yeah. So Latha ma'am actually became a very big educationist and went to modern school as principal. And then she was at a recent conference webinar where I was also a speaker. I'm not much in touch with her, but I remember her very clearly, very dynamic lady and very clear-hearted and very nice ideas. I remember coming at least twice, or maybe she came to my office with some issue. I don't remember what it was. So anyway, that is the long awaited re-contact with your school now. The topic is very important today. We are talking of an online world and we are talking of online teaching. I'll just take a few minutes to give you an overview. Atul Khoslaji has a presentation which you will really benefit by, and then later we'll both be back with the interactions. So in my view, firstly, all of us are teachers in some way or the other. You are professional teachers, you are working for the school, you are, that is your job, as if I might say so, that is your vocation. Whereas I am a teacher of a kind, I was been an IAS officer, been an officer in the government. Now I speak on camera or across India, and I speak to various audiences. So I become a speaker. And in a sense, I'm also a teacher. So I have certain basic points which you would like to probably hear and which can help you. Firstly, whenever you are speaking in front of an audience, you have to be yourself. This basic tip people forget. Teachers don't normally forget because every day they have to go to many classes and teach. So they don't normally try to copy someone or emulate someone else. But many public speakers who give speeches, they do that. So they try to change their personality, change their accent, change their volume, change their body language, which is not possible in one day, or it looks artificial. So firstly, we have to be ourselves whenever we are speaking to an audience, whether offline, in the class or in the gathering, or online. If I try to pretend to be someone else, it will be clearly visible to everybody that this person is not comfortable in his own demeanor. So I have to be myself. Number two, whenever I'm speaking to someone, addressing an audience, teaching a class, online, offline, I have to be prepared. If I'm prepared, then I cannot go wrong. Why? Because I have read my material, I know my subject, I know my topic, I have revised my topic, I have gone through the points, I have maybe gone through a couple of examples which I want to give. For example, for each speech, I can tell you I take a few minutes to prepare and I have a rough idea about what I'm going to say. I also have an idea about which story I'm going to use, which anecdote, which story, which incident from my life or otherwise. And so a rough plan is there in my mind. So yeah, one has to be prepared. That is really, really critically important. And rereading your material or whatever it is and going through it is also good. Thirdly, one has to be interesting. Very simple point. If you're not interesting, then the teachers cannot get through to the students' minds. The students may be looking at you, but their minds are wandering because you're not interesting enough to hold their attention. Of course, it is very difficult to hold the attention of young children, students. Their minds are anyway wandering here and there. Even our minds keep wandering, grown-ups also. Very difficult to hold the span of attention of anyone. But if we are more interesting than the average person, we are able to bring in a couple of humorous incidents, a couple of stories, a couple of tales. Maybe you're teaching history or geography. History will give you the possibility of relating some stories related to that era. Geography, maybe not, but maybe if you are teaching something about South India, one of the towns or cities that comes up, let's say Vellore, then you can talk about Vellore, you can talk about the CMC over there, you can talk about the BIT. These are great institutions. So what I mean to say is that when we take a little more interest in our own topic and what we are saying, then we will make our topic, lecture, our talk, our session more interesting. So always try to prepare and try to also make it interesting. And by making it interesting, it also means that you interact. Even online, you can actually interact with people, and that's also highly important. So interaction and making it interesting and preparation and being yourself. And the last I'd just like to add is delivery. Now, delivery is something which some people do better than others. Some people are able to think on their feet, so to say, and others are a little slow to think. That's okay. But if your delivery is steady, loud enough, if it is interesting, if you have rehearsed your points, then you will be able to bring in a little bit of surprise element or some kind of interesting fact or some kind of interesting tidbit that will also help you a lot. So delivery, which is confident, which is calm, which is collected, which is capable, these are the kinds of points that you need to keep in mind for delivering a talk online or offline. And online, it's virtually the same except for the technology used. And Atul Khosla has put together a presentation for you on technology to be used and other points for online classrooms. Over to you, Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. I think before I start, I'd like to congratulate all of you. I'd like to congratulate Deepak sir and all the teachers over here, because I also consider all of you great Corona warriors. And the reason why you're Corona warriors is because you're balancing your time at home and you've made sure that not a day of students' learning is lost. You've adopted technology like no one else. And it's not just you, it's teachers across the country, it's teachers across the world. So you're the ones who are also the Corona warriors. And you're the ones who have made online learning very effective for our students. I was looking at some statistics. I was looking at some numbers from our efforts at Shulani. So like happens in universities, Vivek, kids normally sometimes what they call bunk classes. I'm sure all of us have done that. Our average attendance in a class, if there are 100 students across the whole year, in the offline mode was 81.2%, which means 81.2% of the students attend a lecture, which is pretty high. You know, it used to be 40% at IIT where I went. In the online world, this number is now 95.8%. We just went through our midterm exams online. We went through assessments online. We're going through our end semester online starting 1st of June. And it's actually becoming very, very effective. It's effective because Suddenly all the data that we have is captured, which means I can track students who are good or bad in which particular area. So amazing stuff that's happening online. Of course, the future is going to be something hybrid. We need to be with the students, but we can leverage technology in a very, very good way to make learning superior. And I'll talk about that. So I'd like to pick up what Vivek said, which is the first thing for us to believe is that online teaching, as all of you know by now, is no Hawa. It's no different from teaching in front of the class. The only difference is now all of your actors. Your audience is not just the students anymore. You've got the nana, nanis, dada, dadis, parents, neighbors possibly viewing your lectures. And all of them will have comments about your lectures, which means you need to now be completely smart. You need to be completely buttoned up in terms of what you deliver. So I've got a small presentation based on what we've been doing at Shulani. And as I was mentioning to Deepak sir, we started our online journey around 5 years ago, or probably 7 years ago. We call it the e-university. I won't say that we were preparing for Corona, but as Corona hit us, Vivek, we were able to transform ourselves into a virtual university pretty much within 24 hours. We're a little ahead of some of the other universities in three terms in technology. If you think about the technology you use, whether it is Zoom or it is Microsoft Teams or it is anything else, most of the times it is not integrated. Your students, anyone can join the classroom. There is no biometric typically to allow the class student inside the classroom, which is in this case video. There is no way for you to track attendance in an effective way. And there is no way that you can, after that, do assessments pretty much in a synchronous way with your students. Many of you might not have the practice also of speaking in front of a camera, something that we started doing 5 to 7 years back. So what I'm going to present is basically a summary of what I've learned, and hopefully you'll find it effective. So Vivek, if you allow me, can I put this presentation up?
Please go ahead.
By the way, this picture was taken from my bedroom 2 days back, and I'm so proud of it. It looks so beautiful. So do come and visit Shulani at some point of time, teachers. So I'm going to take you through 5 stories of 5 people who've taken me through the journey of online learning. Some of them are related to online learning. Some of them are trying to triangulate into learnings that I remember every day, and hopefully they'll be effective for you. The first is a person by the name of Ranjit Pandit. Ranjit Pandit was my first boss. I started my career with a company called McKinsey & Company. And we used to have a lot of video conferences in those days. And Ranjit would always say, as we started building a career, invest in a toolkit. And that's my first lesson to all of you. All of you want to become great online teachers. The toolkit needed to be a great online teacher is different from an offline teacher or a classroom teacher. Even for a school, you'll have to invest in the toolkit. So what is this toolkit all about? Very basic stuff. Please make sure you have a high-speed internet and Wi-Fi. Typically, a fiber-driven Wi-Fi is way superior than a Wi-Fi platform. Typically, phones are not very good ways to interact online. So my first advice to all of you is invest in that 800 rupee a month landline or land internet. Have a laptop with a quality webcam. Phones don't work. Very, very difficult to work on a phone. A voice cancelling headset like I have goes a very, very long way to make it easy for you. You need a technology platform like Deepak was talking about. But Deepak, you need to make sure that it's integrated. It uses AI. You can use predictive assessments. You can use other forms of technology to ensure that you understand how much students are learning. We, for example, have a tool which is built into our LMS which we've built actually ourselves, is where we can look at the smiles on our students. We can look at the faces to understand whether they're interacting or not. Are they sleeping in the class or not? Are they engaging in the class or not? LMS is a learning management system which needs to be integrated into a video platform like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or any other video platform. And that needs to be integrated into an assessments platform. You need proctoring that happens, which means students are not cheating. All of this needs to be integrated. And hopefully, Aishar already has this. If it doesn't, separately, Deepak sir, I can have a chat with you. We have one of the best technologies in the world at Shulini. But all of this needs to be provided, of course, by the fourth has to be provided by the school, but everything else has to be invested by the teacher, I think. The fifth is pedagogy and instruction design. The way you teach is going to be different over the online tool, over the online platform than it is in the classroom. I'll give an example. A typical school classroom, I think a period, as we call it, is 40 minutes. In a university, it's 60 minutes. The human mind cannot absorb more than 20 minutes of knowledge over the internet. If you've seen TEDx classes, if you've seen TEDx lectures, they're typically 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 14 minutes. So please make sure that your pedagogy is split between synchronous, which is online live lectures, and asynchronous, which is homework that you give to students. So give more homework, more asynchronous, and 20 to 25-minute lectures. That's again something that I think the school will have to take a lead at. But your instruction design, the way you break up your classes, your different your subject matter, different periods that you have to cover the syllabus needs to be rethought, and you need to communicate that in a very sizable way. I always tell my teachers that, look, if you think about a carpenter, you're only as good as the saw that he has or other equipment that he has, and that's now going to be true for all of you. If you want to become a great teacher, you'll have to invest in a great internet, you'll have to invest in a great laptop, and you'll have to invest in a headset. Otherwise, you won't be heard properly. I've been in lectures, for example, for my faculty and some schools also, where teachers are not sitting properly. They'll be like very close to, for example, the computer or the phone is down there. They don't have a backdrop, which is the right backdrop. All these are things that you need to invest in. You would have seen, for example, you would have seen Vivek. He's got a backdrop, and that's what I learned from him, that you need to have a backdrop that talks about your school, that talks about you, and exactly like a classroom, gives the impression to the student that you are serious. And of course, you're going to have a lot of fun also along the way. The second story I'm going to talk about, another dear friend of mine, Todd Furness. He was my second boss. He was based in Dallas, and I started working with him. That's the United States of America. And he would always say, Atul, you always need to look smart and good wherever you are. And this is so applicable even in the online world. In fact, it is more applicable. All of you would wear good clothes when you go to your class. I know that because my mother's been a teacher. She would decide on her sari every day. Now that's same thing is applicable when you sit in front of your online camera, your computer. Again, I'm sure that's not true for your school, Deepak, but I've seen many, many schools where teachers dress sloppily. They're not dressed the way they would normally. So think that you're addressing a classroom. Be as prepared in the way you look when you're taking your online class. The third lesson is from another person I worked with, a very charismatic guy called Tom Peters. Tom Peters is also the author of a book called In Search of Excellence. I happened to work with him when I was in New York with McKinsey and Company. And he would always say that your place of work is very, very important. Your office where you work needs to be always at a quiet, convenient space. You cannot work when there are lots and lots of people around you, where there are lots of noise around you. This is very, very elementary, but I can tell you that most of us do not have an office at home. We do not have a quiet place at home. So what happens is when you're giving lectures, there'll be our kids shouting around, our mothers-in-law asking us to come and have lunch or dinner. The dog is barking behind. We just don't have that quiet place. It is almost mandatory for you to have a quiet place if you want to do an online lecture. Of course, right now you're confined at home, so build your home office. But as you come to school, And if you want to do, let's say, online lectures from school, Deepak, try to create those quiet places inside the school. For example, at Shulani, we have around 8 studios where teachers can go, faculty can go, plug their computers in, and they can be up and running immediately. High speed connectivity, all the things that I spoke about are all there. And that's something you should invest as a school. And that's something every teacher, I think, should invest in their house. I know it's not that easy. I know many of you might not have that large places, but getting that space is very critical. Do it in a bathroom, guys, if you don't have a separate bedroom to create into an office. I've done that in the past, but you need a very quiet place to give a lecture. Interference is not okay. I've done a very interesting experiment in my faculty. When we all do a faculty meeting, I have told my faculty that, guys, muting and switching off your video is not allowed. Like, you have to be present in a staff meeting the same way you have to be present in a Zoom meeting online. First time I did it, it took me 20 minutes of practice to get my teachers quiet, because there was a dog barking, someone's, kid was coming up and pulling the teacher's pallu. There was some shouting at the back happening. It took me 20 minutes to get them quiet. Of course, muting was not allowed. And now we're starting to practice this at Shulani, saying, if this is going to be the way we teach, then we have to learn how to be in a quiet place, which means all of us have to invest in an office at home. Fourth, and this is Vivek's favorite topic. He is, of course, my guru over here, but meditation goes a long way. You are stressed when you do new things. When you're speaking to a camera, you are stressed. You don't have an audience. So assume an audience, close your eyes and assume that there's a huge audience in front of you. Be calm. And as Paramhansa Yogananda said, stay actively calm and calmly active. I'll have Vivek speak about this before we get into Q&A, but it's very, very important that you're not fidgety in front of the camera. You can't be using your hands left, right, center, etc. You can't be walking. You have to sit at one place. And you should observe Vivek, for example. Even his head does not move as he speaks. Hats off to you, Vivek. You are a role model over here.
Thank you.
And finally, I wanted to share my story. That is me. When I went to IIT Kanpur, dear teachers, I couldn't speak a word of English. I learned a bit of that as I spent 4 years at IIT and 2 years at business school. But when I started working, 3 months into my job, my global CEO calls me and says, Atul, we have to let you go. We have to fire you. We don't think you have the right communication skills. We don't think we can put you in front of a video conference or in front of very senior clients. So just to give you the context, McKinsey & Company is the #1 consulting firm in the world. And my client was Ratan Tata. I had to meet Ratan Tata every day. I had to call him Ratan by the first name. And I would like stammer. I just couldn't give presentations. So I asked for time from Tino Puri, who was my CEO. And he was gracious enough to say, okay, take 2 years, but I do not see you successful in consulting for more than 2 years. That were his parting thoughts. So what did I do? I practiced. I bought a camera. In those days, we would have those webcams, or not webcams, those camcorders that I bought every day between 7 and 8, every day. Before I went to work, I would practice to speak in front of the camera every day for the next 7 years. And I learned to speak. I'm not as good as Vivek, but I think I am fairly good, to the extent that in my last job, when I was quitting, I was being made the Asia CEO of Oliver Wyman. And I asked my global CEO and I said, but why me? I'm not even interested. And he said, no, Atul, you've got great style. You've got great communication skills. And I had then told him my joke saying, I had none. That's what I was told when I started. So all of you can become masters when it comes to practicing communication skills, practicing in front of, speaking in front of the camera. So practice, practice, practice. Don't take it easily. You are being recorded, my friends. Every lecture of yours is going on YouTube. It's your reputation that is at stake. It's your school's reputation that is at stake. And finally, after I summarize, 5 things I said, Ranjit taught me: invest in a toolkit. Your toolkit is your computer, your Wi-Fi, the place where you sit, and other things. Todd said, look smart and good. You have to do that even in front of the camera every time, exactly the way you would do in class. Tom Peters spoke about the need of a great office. Build an office at home, however difficult it is. For the school, please invest in quiet places, which you can call studios or online offices, whatever you want. I'd also like to say, Deepak, do invest in technology that's going to take you far. It's again, can help you on that if you need any help on the right technology in terms of integration of the LMS and the video channel that you have and your assessment tool. Stay calm, do a bit of meditation, make sure that you're calmly active and actively calm, and finally practice, practice, practice. But before I end, I cannot not speak about my mentor, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs would say, think crazy, think different, and think outside the box. And I think that's true for online too. So for this presentation, I thought a little outside the box. I'm not sure whether you like the way I structured it. I structured it around 5 stories rather than 5 other things. I structured it around 5 people. I believe that's a way you might remember what I said. So Steve Jobs said, think outside the box, try new things, experiment every day. Because if you're crazy enough to try new things, you are the ones who will change the world. I'll end my talk with a small video, if I can play this.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
So this is your moment to change the world, teachers. Think different, experiment, practice, get your toolkit, invest in it, push your school to provide you the right technology. And I'm sure Aisha will not just be the best school in Himachal, it'll be the best school in the world very soon. Vivek, your thoughts?
Very nice, Atul. I was very impressed with this presentation, especially because it is believable, it is actual, it is factual. It's not a realm of dreams only. And 5 stories from your life and people who inspired you. I think this presentation will go a long way in educating a lot of people around this region and maybe the country. Very good points. I think Deepak ji and your team, if you can take away a few things from that and implement them, it would be fabulous. There are so many things to be learned from listening to someone who has been through a process of discovery and improvement and maybe taking himself from one avatar to another in the same lifetime. So Atul has been through all that. Atul has scaled the world and come back to Shulini, scaling heights. And each of us has a story. So even Mr. Deepak Singh, I'm sure you have a story. I'm sure all teachers have something to share. So always use these moments to inspire your students when you speak to them. Dull, listless, routinized kinds of speeches or lectures will not inspire anybody. And it's very important to put life into your talks. I think Atul and I managed to do that. That's why we have been received very well, mostly, or I think every day. So a few more points, just a couple of more points before we move on. Those points are more around how you are during your session or during your class, your emotional makeup. Are you distracted or are you there? If you are distracted because you're online, you're at home, your children are around, the phone is ringing, that is something which we need to control, because when we are in the classroom, such distractions are not there. Somehow the world has to learn to make the home a workplace, as Atul also said. So whatever is possible. I know it's not possible. You may have a grandmother there, you may have a parent there, you may have some neighbor coming in, the bell is ringing, all these things happen at home. Whatever is best possible, make it like a workplace. The second thing is, I'll make it to the lighter side slightly. You may have seen the film, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara. In Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, Hrithik Roshan, Abhi Deol and Farhan Akhtar are out on a road trip through Spain. And Hrithik Roshan has a conference call, a video call. At that time, nobody of us used to do these video calls much. But he stops the car at some point, takes out his laptop. He has a Japanese client and he talks to him. And what does Hrithik Roshan do? He's in his Spain vacationing shorts and shirt and whatever. He just puts on a tie or a jacket and nobody can see what he's wearing below. So it doesn't matter whether he's wearing slippers and shorts or whatever. He just goes through with the thing. But I feel personally that if you dress up, if you get ready, wear your shoes, go to work online as if you are going to school, you will be much better. You will be more professional, you'll be more organized, you will feel as if this is my work mode. So a human being can be in a home mode, a vacation mode, a work mode, or movie mode, or whatever it is. We have to get into a work mode when we are holding online classes or other classes. And also, please make sure that each day you are better than the last day. This is a very important tip, because even in the classroom, over the years, teachers or anyone can tend to become bored and tend to become very complacent also at times. And then you don't really find that excitement in what you're doing. So try and excite yourself by telling yourself that this is a new era, these are new ways of working. I'm going to do the best that I can. And perhaps I'll become the best teacher I can in this mode. When you go back to class, and you will go back to class, that time you can, replicate what you have learned here in these practice sessions, or rather these online sessions. Also, when I mentioned the word practice, Atul mentioned it, practice, practice, practice. You can actually practice with your own children. You can make them sit somewhere, try and make a backdrop, try and make sure that your camera angle, your distance from the camera are good enough. And then the basic tips that I gave you for public speaking, facing the camera well, body language, using your hands a little bit, and making things interesting, smiling more, and making sure that children respond by asking them questions or interactions. So these are the basic tips that I also had, and you can probably ask me questions, and Atul, questions now. Over to you, Atul.
Thanks, Vivek. I think before and we'd love all of you to please ask questions. You can do it on the chat over here, or you could use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Please do that for all of us. And Deepak sir, you can also please ask questions. I think before we get into Q&A, I just wanted to say that we're all in the business of, or we're all providing inspiration to young minds. It's the young minds who will change the world. That's the passion that I have. That's the passion we have at Shulani. I'm sure that's the passion all of you have. I'm sure that's the passion at your school at Aisha. So if you allow me, Vivek, I want to show a small video about Shulani and our passion, and we'll then get into Q&A. So please ask Q&A, any questions that you have, teachers. So let me present this small video, 1-minute video to all of you.
throughout history. The young have always been the ones to shape the future. And they continue to do so today. You are the country's biggest asset, our best bet to conquer the future. So what are you waiting for? Your time to dream is now. Dream of the research that can change the world. Dream of a high-flying corporate career. Dream of higher studies in the world's best universities. Dream of developing cutting-edge technology of the future. Dream of your own global startup. At Shulini University, we empower you and enable you to chase your dreams and change the world. Shulini University. Think learning, think success.
Thank you. So we'd love if Deepak sir, you can come on screen. And once again, teachers would love any questions you have. Shikha, Kamal, you included. Any questions that you guys have, would love to answer those. Deepak sir, if you could, yeah, that's right. Lovely. Thank you, Deepak sir. Thank you for coming.
Shall I start?
Absolutely, sir.
So I have a very interesting question for you, Atul.
Sure.
When I see your logo, the Shulini University logo,
Right.
it interests me to ask you, why have you made the DNA? Is it a DNA?
Okay.
If I'm not wrong, there is a DNA.
It is an inspired DNA. So
Okay.
if you see it closely, and let me see if I have. I don't have anything right now in front of me. So I'll just show. Kamal, if you can just put up the DNA on the thing, if you have anything on screen. So first of all, DNA, we started off with biotechnology. So that shows that we're a science university, we're an innovation-led university. But more importantly, it also said that DNA is the source of life and education is the source of life. It's also a ladder for success. So DNA is also a ladder, if you see. So it has, and at the top of, it's actually, at the top of our logo is a flame. So it's also a flame for success. So there are multiple connotations for it. It took us 6 months of debate with each other to come up with the logo. So,
I understand that, because a logo is a huge investment. I mean, people seldomly realize that, a logo actually is kind of a, kind of a face of the entire organization. So it has to be crafted very meticulously. So I keep a little, focus on absolutely.
I'm so impressed,
I'm impressed.
and happy that you've been looking at Shulini. Thank you very much, Deepak sir. Thank you. We work very hard to keep our students successful. I'd love to state over here that we're very, very proud of our students. We are today India's #1 patent filer. Our students file more patents than the next highest, which is IIT Chennai. Last year, Shulini students filed 208 patents compared to 141 of IIT Chennai. And these are students who come from smaller towns. They don't come from the biggest towns of the city, or they're not the pampered kids. And that's what makes us very, very proud that these are the belly of India can do magic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Conquer. because I understand the kind of children we have in Himachal. I think you really wish to work very hard for them. I completely resonate with you on this. And I am so happy to see the progress of Shulini, and now actually meeting you kind of organically. I am so happy to see your progress and the work that you are doing. So looking forward to interact more with you, Atul, for
Absolutely.
sure.
No,
Uh,
it'll be an honor. In fact, as Corona, oh, that's the logo, right? So Kamal is putting it up. So
oh,
you'll see the helix, which is oxygen for life, which is DNA. You'll see the ladder, and at the top you'll see a flame. So that's
beautiful,
how it looks like. We
beautiful.
just did 10 years, so that's our new logo, which is 10 years of innovation and excellence.
Very nice, beautiful.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you. Truly appreciate. So I'll give you my dream, Deepak, when we speak about innovation. I think online will make big changes in the way universities work or schools work. And I always give the concept of a Gurukul. And we'll have Vivek speak about this in a second. If you think about the Mahabharata, that the Kauravas and the Pandavas were taught by Dronacharya. We've all heard about Dronacharya. But behind Dronacharya, there were probably 500, 5,000 assistant teachers, assistant gurus.
Mm-hmm.
And no one remembers those gurus, right? We only remember Dronacharya. And I think that's possibly what's going to happen in schools and with teachers. Each school will have those 2, 3, 4, 5 star teachers, the Dronacharyas, because they are the ones who will inspire the students. I'll give a small example over here. If you have one star teacher, now you don't need to put that star teacher in 6 different sections. You'll probably use and leverage that star teacher using technology to reach all the 6 sections one go. And I think it's a learning for our teachers over here, because you have to decide, teachers, do you want to become Dronacharya or do you want to become the assistant? But there are only going to be 5 Dronacharyas, guys, which means this is your time to learn. This is your time to practice. And I would seriously encourage you to use this time to step up. And all of you can. I'm completely convinced about it. And I think the world is going to change, and technology will come in. They're going to be hybrid classrooms. We'll be spending a lot more time outside the classroom, I think, Deepak, like Gurukuls. We'll be teaching under the tree because we don't need to be in the classroom anymore. We'll have Wi-Fi everywhere. So we'd love to answer any questions you have. Please do that. I think Deepak was very kind. But I have a couple of questions, Vivek, if you allow me. So, you've been a prolific writer, a prolific speaker. You write and speak all the time. I think this whole webinar thing has really picked up over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Tell us about your experience first time you were doing a webinar. Were you nervous, and how did you prepare?
Yeah, so you're absolutely right. Anyone who gets into online speaking for the first time will be a little nervous. I was also nervous, but the point is that we had already started some of these earlier. So it wasn't only during the last 3 or 4 months. Whenever it happened, the first time was like, where am I going to be sitting? Maybe I was sitting like you showed us, sitting too close to the camera. Then you don't like your look. If you're sitting too far, you can't be heard or seen properly. So I took time to get a balance into my visuals. And I realized after a while at what height should the laptop be. All these logistics out of the way. Once I feel comfortable with my surroundings, then I felt that now I can speak as if I'm speaking in a friendly setting to an audience. So over the last few months, I've got into a mode where I don't think it's any different for me to be speaking before a camera. The only thing I miss is the reaction of the audience a little more. And of course, eye contact with the audience, smiles can't be seen so readily. So getting a cheer and applause, here everybody's on silent mode. So that also you miss. It is a little different, but you get over it. And once you become comfortable, I think Atul and I are very cool in these, not that we're praising ourselves, but just that we got lots of practice.
So practice helps. Vivek, there's one question from YouTube which is coming in. The two actually. What's your sense about, how do you get students engaged in an online class? And secondly, I'll pick up the second one, which is what should be the ideal duration of a class. I did speak about that, but I'll answer that. But how do you keep students engaged? How small kids asking them to look into a screen, difficult, right?
Very, very good point. It's really an issue. And in fact, I missed the point that Atul had said I will add to. So let me add to that about being calmly active and actively calm, he said. And that is something which is very, very important. So the first thing you must do when you are in a session is not to have just run from the kitchen or from the washroom or, just suddenly you're online. So be prepared, come and sit down, have 5 minutes of time or 10 minutes of time, just like you're going to a class. Take it seriously, as I said, get ready. And once you're there, then calm yourself down. Once you've calmed yourself down, your performance, your lecture, your aura, everything will go up. It will improve. And you will look as if you are totally in control and command. Now, the children who are not receptive, your question, you have to basically make them get involved into the class. If the child is going to be able to hide away and you're not even noticing that he's not there, or there was a WhatsApp joke where the participant in a meeting actually put up a photograph of his, and that photograph actually fell down because of the wind. And he was sitting behind the photograph having a cool time on his beanbag. So, I mean, that he was discovered. So that can also happen. So you have to keep getting them to talk, keep getting them to respond and interact, and maybe have some awards or prizes or certificates for the best participants very quickly into this mode. That this one is always best turned out, more responsive, better camera angle, lighting, some technical awards you can start or some certificates on that, which might give them incentive. I think you have to keep them engaged.
So Vivek, one of the things we do a lot is to engage students is either we do quizzes in the class or we can do polls. If you've seen Kaun Banega Crorepati, there's something called, you get a poll from the audience, right? Ask the audience question. So you can do those type of polls where students can, pick up the answer and you can see what the audience is responding. We do a lot of that. Students love it. We can get instant feedback on whether we are in the right direction or not. We can do quizzes. So for example, Deepak, after every 10 minutes, we'll do a quiz on what was covered. Simple question, right? And that adds to the internal assessment. It's all automated, so that pushes into the report card. That sort of stuff can be done. So lots of interesting things, but I think I'll pick up the question of duration of class. Despite all that you do, if you're having a very long class, it can't, it won't work. So typically, if whatever your length of the period is, I think it's typically 35 or 40 minutes in school. Think about your online lecture or your online class as half that time. So bring it to half. So do more smaller classes rather than one large class. I'll give a small example. Let's say if Vivek and I had to run this seminar in your school online, it would have probably been half a day. It would have been leisurely, we would have had tea, and we would have done a lot of things. But if I go beyond 1 hour, in fact, 30 minutes of lecture and then discussion, you guys will just leave it. I've already lost one audience. I'm keeping track of it. So there were 30 earlier, so we've lost one participant, Vivek. So time for us to also start closing. But Monica ma'am is asking, some students are avoiding online classes. How do we motivate them, Vivek? That's the question she's asking.
So this question, I think, is in Q&A, right?
It's in Q&A. That's right.
So it is like this, that firstly, attendance has to be compulsory. So you have to ensure that each person is there. And if they're avoiding it by just giving attendance and then not there, so then, as Atul said, I also said, engage them. In the middle of the class, you have to ask, so Ankur, what do you think about this story? And if Ankur is not there, then obviously Ankur can't answer. So you really have to try and get them to be not only present, but mindfully present. It may be difficult because in the classroom setting, you're able to walk up to the student or make the student stand up or whatever. As technology improves and your comfort levels improve, you will find yourself be as much in control as you were before. So that is something you must do. Also, a note to the parents repeatedly that children should be attentive, and parents must ensure that they are. Of course, as we discussed, Atul has already said that you are like actors, because not only the student, the parent, the chacha, nana, nani, and the neighbor are also there in the class, in the online. So you have to be really on the ball and on top of your game if you want to do well. So, but because you're experienced, you know your content, you'll be fine. So motivate your students by giving them some incentive, and also keep a check on them by repeatedly asking them to participate in a quiz or a questionnaire or something.
Yeah, so absolutely. I think, Vivek, one or two quick points that I would like to mention is, and I'm sure it might be, you might have done this too, Deepak sir. We have done parent-teacher meetings quite frequently. We can do a lot of that. We're trying to get a lot of external speakers into our classes. So I think your classes don't have to be, for example, just you teaching this time. For example, if you have to teach a concept of linear mathematics, let's say algebra, get another teacher, another friend of yours to say today, Vivek is going to teach algebra. So variety is sort of helps, Monica. So try to bring in, so experiment, I would say, none of us know the right way to do it. And I go back to an analogy, when movies came, Deepak, I don't know whether you've seen or know about it, but the first movies were screened in cinema halls where the picture was screened, but there used to be an orchestra at the bottom playing the music. And then when they started filming songs, Vivek, they would have the orchestra running behind the actors who would sing live.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had playback. So we are in that stage right now where we don't know what the final answer of online is going to be. These devices, I think, whether it's a mobile or it's a laptop, are also not the final devices. I'm sure there'll be better devices, because honestly, I'm becoming a zombie, right? Not a zombie, but a zombie, because my neck has started paining. I do so many of these webinars. So yeah, so I would say experiment. Who knows? You might be the Dada Falke of online lectures and come up with something innovative and different that will change the way we all learn. I think that's where I'll speak, and involve your students in small little things. I'm trying to pick up a small video. My students did on online. Let me see if I can bring it up, Vivek.
Then I'll just show you my book. This is Finding Success Within, Deepak ji and your teachers. This is for young people. 52 life skills for young Indians, including communication and public speaking. So you can have a look at this book. It's available.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Where is it available, sir?
Online, Amazon and all, it's available.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think I have
Wonderful.
this. Yeah, I have. Can I play a small video for half a minute, Vivek? Is that allowed? Right? Yeah. Let me see if I can bring it up. It's something that my students did on online teaching. Let me see if I can bring it up. Yeah, I think it's there. Yeah, it's working.
Hi. Change is the new buzzword. Many things have changed. And today I'm going to take you to my class, how things have changed for me. Good morning. Good morning, students. How are you all? Good morning. Good morning, all. Yes, students. Is my voice audible? Are the slides clear?
Yes, ma'am.
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 Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, students. All is set. So today's topic is talk exchanges. So this is the way we are doing it. Technology is bridging the gap between the students and the teachers. We did it while staying at home. I hope you too take care. Stay home, stay safe. Bye.
Wonderful. Very nice.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Just a bit of fun.
Absolutely true.
And I'm sure the same experiences are happening across India. But we're very excited about online, Deepak sir. So I hope this was helpful. I hope this was useful. Any last thoughts, Deepak sir? Any last before we close?
Yeah.
Any last thoughts?
In fact, I have. In fact, I wanted to have two questions to Vivek ji.
Yes.
One is regarding the public speaking, because public speaking still remains one of the most difficult skills. Even if you kind of do this entire listing of 21st century skills, still I think skills is not everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
You already spoke about practice, but still, if you would like to share more about public speaking skills to our teachers, that would be nice. One question is that. Second is, I firmly believe in spirituality, and Param's Yoganand is one of my favorite authors as well. I have been reading about him, and I largely believe what he says. So the second question is, in a macro context, how do you see all this in a larger sense, like in a larger perspective, all this COVID happening, Vivek ji? How do we put it spiritually to people and let them assure that everything is happening for good? I mean, so that kind of assurance people can have. I have been talking to people on spiritual lines, that there has to be some better purpose of whatever is happening, and I'm getting very good thoughts on that. I would like to have your perspective also on that, sir.
Very nice questions, Deepak ji. Amazing. The first one, whatever I've said before, I'll add a couple of points to that, because those points are definitely there. Being prepared, being structured, being yourself and delivering well, and content and delivery both matter. But I'll add a few points to that. Firstly, to make your speech or your public speaking skills better than others, you really have to speak more and more and more. I mean, it has to be done. That practice is not to be taken lightly. I would suggest to young teachers who are just starting out that they can make some family members sit down and give them a practice lecture of half an hour, or even children sit down, their own children, and study how you can improve, because there you are in a family situation. They can tell you, beta aise theek nahi hai, your mother is sitting there, or your child is sitting, mama, this is not the way to do it. So take the feedback and practice in front of people who are well-wishers, and then go to the real thing. So this is like, net practice before the test match. I must do that. Plus, the second tip that I did not mention there is to practice intonation and throwing your voice. Your voice control, basically, if the last boy and girl in the physical classroom is sitting and looking at his phone or looking down, that means you are not commanding and holding the room. So to hold the attention of the room, you really have to be loud enough, able to make your voice interesting, tone, pitch changing. And then another way to engage is by, I always do this. So I'll always say, okay, last row. So what is your view on this? So then, the last row has to get involved. So public speaking is about involving everybody who is listening to you and repeatedly getting them to maybe notice you. So that is, these are a couple of additional tips that I had. You can read a lot about public speaking, Dale Carnegie. You can read about various speakers. Barack Obama is my favorite. I've said it many times. See how he does it. Show the video to your teachers. They are not giving a political speech, but even in a class, look at how he is so calm. So you can also be like that. The second question is more interesting and far reaching, but not too much time to answer it. The only quick answer I'll give you on spirituality and why this is happening, as far as I can know, I am also a student of spirituality. I can see that the bigger picture of the world is basically important. And mankind in the last 20 years did not really cover itself with glory if you look at it. If you look at it in the last 20 years, we were a little mindless as a global community. So probably we became too complacent in our technology-aided life. We started spoiling the environment more than before, and we were not really worried. There were people making noises, Greta Thunberg, this, that, Leonardo DiCaprio, people, activists. But it is not the norm to look after the environment. The norm is that you go about your business and fly here and there, and your air conditioning is spoiling the environment. So people have been forced to think. God, if you look at the divine, and if we talk of the divine for a minute, the divine has told us that you please stop, pause, reflect. Let us take a very maybe filmy kind of example. Let us say extramarital affairs. They will go out of the window. Nobody can meet anyone anymore. And clandestine affairs are not going to happen. So God said, you stop doing all this, what you're doing. You stop gallivanting, stop corruption, stop road accidents, stop this and that. So he gave us a forced pause and he made us think, he made us go within, and going within has told us that life, family, meditation, these are the things that really matter, creativity. And then now we can go back with maybe a few months later, he allows us, Acha, chalo bachcho, khelne jao dobara. So then we go back with renewed sense of spirituality. Very important to meditate.
I think we're running out of time, Vivek. Deepak sir, thank you very, very much. Vivek, thank you very much, Deepak sir, for the opportunity. It's been a true honor to speak to you. I think we got so much energy out of this discussion, I would say. I've learned so much in the process. Thank you to the teachers and everyone around. Thank you, Shikha, Kamal, for being wonderful in terms of organizing this and technology. And we'll all come back again and invite all of you to visit Shulini once Corona is over. We'd also love to come and visit your school. But till then, we also have a webinar tomorrow. Vivek and I are speaking to students. And
Yes.
you might want to join us on that. Vivek, you want to talk about that before we close?
Tomorrow we have a webinar with Shulini University and Jamburi and Vivek Career Academy for IAS. So we are speaking in the afternoon tomorrow. I think Kamal or Shikha will send you the exact detail and link. And please join in with all your students and parents. They can also join. It's about career options. So career options.
Very nice.
Right career. Please join.
Thank
Surely,
you.
surely. I will motivate all my students to join, and obviously teachers would also join. So looking forward to that as well. And it's been truly, truly wonderful to hear both of you. And so it gives me such inherent happiness to see that you are so involved in your work. You are loving what you're doing, and also kind of sharing so much of knowledge and wisdom. Has really helped. In every minute of this webinar was truly, truly kind of value addition for us. Gratitude to both of you and Shulini University for facilitating this. On behalf of my teachers and the entire Aisha school, thank you so much, sir. And Atul.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye.